And we're live.
You're live.
We're live. Wow, that was a lot to take in, but in a really good way, right? It was really, really good. So good morning, or good afternoon. We start off in the morning. This is the thing. We transition in the morning at 11 a.m. and then it's afternoon. So good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching on replay, just put a hashtag replay so we can actually scroll through all the comments and respond to all the comments and any questions you have. If you're watching it live, welcome to all the men and welcome to all the women watching us. So today's topic for Mindful Men's Club was reflections and realizations. So every 4 sessions, what we do, we interject with the reflections and realizations to then recap on the previous 3 topics and just in general, I guess, where we all are in our own individual and collective journeys. So it was quite, it's always profound because at any point in our life, we're always reflecting on something, aren't we, Viraj? Or we've come to a realization based on that introspection and reflection. And there was so much that the men shared. It was so diverse, which was beautiful, right? It was so diverse. So from relationships to having other people's perspectives and lives, to what was it? I made a few notes there. To not judging a book by its cover, and there was a really a detailed example of that shared. So we won't mention any of the men's names unless obviously they ask us to mention them, and then we'll share any details. But it just got us really thinking about how often do we course correct our lives, meaning how often do we actually take a positive direction based on an intention to either improve your mental well-being, your physical well-being, or your spiritual well-being, right? So whether you're chasing or not chasing, probably wrong word, but whether you're trying to create financial abundance or spiritual abundance or physical abundance or mindset abundance, right? What are you actually doing about it? And we share so many things like podcasts and books amongst each other's. When I say we share, I mean everybody in attendance of Mindful Men's Club in terms of the actual room, the virtual Zoom session that we have. And one of the questions we all ask each other is how often do we actually put what we've read in a book, whether it's audible or text-based, into action, right? So how often do we execute in life? And it's funny how health seems to be the last one until something happens to our health that creates a kind of a jolt, right, Viraj, and makes us kind of wake up and realize it. We always kind of naturally gravitate towards financial abundance, right, whether it's elevation in career or elevation in business, and relationships is obviously a given, right? Everybody wants to have a great relationship with somebody or find a partner if you haven't found somebody, or be content with the relationship with yourself, right? That's also cool as well. So there was so much to unpack. I don't know where you want to start off with, but I can maybe read out some of these, but you can just share. I mean, you shared as well, right? A reflection I shared. So it's just to put it into context. I think one question maybe we can ask the audience as well, and maybe we can put it in the chat window, is that, and I asked this to the audience, is that, can you name a moment in your life, so whether it's through childhood or adulthood, where you can describe instantly, like a memory recall, where something in your life, happened, or you did something and it changed forever the course trajectory of your life. So name a moment in your life where, through lived experience, where whether it's a child or whether it's adulthood, where absolutely changed the trajectory of your life. It could be an event, it could be a relationship, it could be an action, it could be a reaction, it could be a choice, it could be something that happened to you or happened for you, or you made happen. And I'm sure everyone's got one or many, right? And it's just a bit of a fascinating question. And when I was going for my normal walk at Bentley Priory, that just hit me, like, what is mine? And wouldn't it be great to ask that question of others? So yeah, maybe we start with that question. What do you think? It's a bit of a deep question.
To kick it off as well, right? And I think this is there's so much of what you've just shared in such a short amount of time, which kind of encapsulates the conversation that we all just had on the Zoom. But it's really about, I think it starts with, what is it that we already know that we're not applying? Because you can listen to as many podcasts, read as many books, do as many courses, and that adds, there's definitely a value in doing that, because it adds to the bank account of your knowledge. But the real return on investment comes from the application of that capital. So what is something that you've learned recently, and how could you start to try that out to see what result that brings you? And that way you're in the process of creating something, versus just kind of almost still being stuck in where you are, except you know a little better, but you're still not taking those actions as well, which again isn't a bad position to be in, right? But I think a lot of us know that there's more for us on the table. So what's really stopping us from grabbing that? And I think that in itself is a very profound realization that most of us will have, in that everything that we need is already inside of us, and anything that may be missing, we can go out and get.
100%.
That being said, actions create clarity. Clarity brings results.
Yeah, it's just fascinating, isn't it? Like I think everybody deep down knows that all the answers are, that are in the universe is inside us, because the universe is inside us, right? Ultimately, right? If we all believe that we're the spirit soul, again, choice, there's no right or wrong, I do, you do, then you believe that we're all collected consciousness, right? So then we believe that the answers are within us, but sometimes we need some guidance, right? And sometimes we need inspiration. Sometimes we need that catalyst, that spark, that kind of ignites that imagination and curiosity, and keeps asking those innate questions of, what if, what can I ... do, what if I do this, right? It's like one of the guys who shared well, I just kind of start sharing some of the comments. And one of the guys shared where he was walking down, I think it was Old Street, and he was walking down the street, and he took a turn, and he just decided with a friend that, what if I walk into this bookshop that I walked past, but what if I just go in? He went in the bookshop, picked up the book. The book's called The Missing Secret, right? Joe, is it Vitality? Joe, what's the surname?
Joe Vitale.
Joe Vitale, yeah, yes. If you can maybe put it in the chat, please. Yeah, picked up the book from Joe Vitale, and then the page that he opened up was obviously, quite often it is, which is quite often how, if you've ever read the Bhagavad Gita, it hits you. So if you ever open the Bhagavad Gita, there's always a phrase, a word, a narrative that is completely resonates with what's happening in your life in that very moment, right? So the same experience happened to him, and it was about the Hawaiian prayer, right? Which I'm sure some of you guys have heard about. I can never pronounce it correctly, but pono, I think that's kind of how you say it, but don't ask me to spell it. A lot of O's in there. Raj, I'm sure we'll put it in the chat. Forgive us for our spelling. And it's so powerful, right? Because it's about love, it's about forgiveness, it's about letting go of attachment. And it's such a powerful prayer. And he put that into practice. And more powerful is he shared that with others. And it enriched and empowered the lives of others, right, around him. So it just goes to show you the knowledge is there. You just have to have this thirst and curiosity to actually search, right? Search for it. It's like kind of like this lockdown scenario, right? If you stay in your house and in your bubble, nothing wrong with it. Work from home, like I was doing, you were doing, right, for many months.
Familiarity, that's all it is.
Yeah, you stay in your bubble, nothing's going to change. You have what you know, and you only know what you know and you don't know, right? Whereas if you step out of your house and you go off the beaten track, and instead of following your route, you take a left, or you take a different train, you meet new people, you create new lived experiences, you're living in moments, and then life happens, right? Life happens, you create life. So it's almost like be that inner child, right? We forget to be that inner child in our adulthood, and sometimes you have to look at our kids. You've got kids, I've got kids, and the light bulb moment for me, I'm sure it is with you, Raj, yours is a lot younger than mine, is that when you observe your children, you realize that you're caging your imagination. Like you're literally caging your choices and your imagination. And if we just observe children and how free they are and how random they are with their thoughts, it, we just kind of need to have that curiosity, right? I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it goes back to that path that we always take, the default path that we always end up taking. We know where that's going to go. Actually, what could be? Let me turn into this store, or let me. So the example that I think of is a few years ago I was walking down Oxford Street, and you just typical Oxford Street, right? You start off from, depending on where you would get off, you either go from Marble Arch down towards Tottenham Court Road or the other side. So I was walking down from Marble Arch heading towards Bond Street, and I went past the road opposite Selfridges. And I was like, I'm going to take a right and then I'm going to take a left and I'm just going to walk in parallel to Oxford Street. But let me see what's there. There's so much there. Like there's so many quirky restaurants and shops and stuff. And like I had a blast because I know what I would have seen. I would have seen the Adidas store. I would have seen, you know what's coming up when you're on that side of Oxford Street. But there was so many other cool things. And I was like, you know, we're going to come here. Like I messaged my wife and I was like, we're going to come here. We're going to come to this restaurant. It's a really nice Italian. But I would never have noticed that was there. And that's something as simple as, I was still getting to Oxford Circus, but I just took a different road, but that was still in parallel and there was so much there. So it's almost like in life, if we continue to take the default path, we don't get to experience anything new. And
100%.
Not wrong with that. But actually, where in life do we see something like, I wonder what's there, and just go check it out?
Absolutely. We were talking a lot about perspective, and what you've described and articulated really, really well is that change your perspective, change your life. So if you get up off your seat and sit in a different seat, both metaphorically and physically, right? Literally, then you change your lens, you change what you see. And if you change what you see, the information you receive is different, right? It's no different from meeting new friends, going for a walk, reading a new book that you never would have. And what's really powerful, and this leads me into another share with one of the guys shared, which I love this one, is that on purpose, he engages with conversations with people he knows that he's not aligned to necessarily in their views at the start of the conversation. He does that for personal growth. Like who does that, right? That's really cool. So let me just rephrase that again. So on purpose, he'll have a conversation with somebody where he may not necessarily be aligned with their viewpoint or their belief system in life, but he'll do it for the curiosity of seeing their perspective. And then seeing their perspective is giving him a different lens of why they see things that way. Then he's learning. It's not that he has to fit into their belief system or he does what they do. In some cases it may be, but he's doing it for the growth. Like that's another angle of changing your perspective. Like who does that? Because we're normally aligned to people who vibrate on our frequency, right? We very rarely gravitate towards people who kind of are like chalk and cheese to us, right?
But here's the thing: if you keep getting the same opinion, you're in an echo chamber. You just hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, 100%.
How is
100%.
that going?
Yeah, 100%.
And what's great about that example is actually you can still fundamentally disagree with someone, and that's totally cool. But at least you understand another perspective, and that gives you a wisdom in a sense of like, all right, cool. So you can look at any potentially divisive topic right now. Let's say politics or religion. Now, just because someone disagrees with your point of view doesn't make them a bad person, but at least you understand where they come from. And now your ability to relate and grow and articulate and communicate increases because you get more sides of a coin. And you're able to form better relationships with people versus if you kind of, and maybe this is the paradox of sameness and familiarity is also the comfort, right? So if you keep hearing the same, hearing what you want to hear, how is that really serving you? Whereas actually you just get something a little bit different that could give you something. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it or you have to go down that road or you have to drop your beliefs. But at least now there's a roundedness that begins to develop versus a sort of when you're just kind of flat in 2D.
Yeah, I guess it's giving you a holistic view, and you're increasing your emotional intelligence, right? So a lot of people talk about EQ, emotional quotations, and it's about being self-aware and awareness for others around you as well. And I think it's like that saying, right, Biraj, where if you want to grow in life, do something that makes you uncomfortable. Period. Right? Growth only comes from doing something that makes you uncomfortable. If you keep doing what's familiar, you'll be very good at doing what's familiar. Nothing wrong with it, but you won't experience anything new.
And the satisfaction will increase because you've stepped out of that comfort zone. Therefore, the payoff is going to be even better when you yield a result from there too. And this is,
Definitely.
and this, maybe this is the vicious circle. If you stay within the familiar stuff, that's where you get bored. That's where you want to. It's almost like everyone recognizes that a comfort zone is a bad thing. Whereas actually, maybe the question is, well, how can you just expand it? Well, you expand it by doing something that's uncomfortable. So now that becomes part of your circle of comfort. So it's more of an expansion of that comfort zone rather than just staying in your comfort zone and keeping it small.
Yeah, definitely. I think it all comes down to what's your narrative, right? How are you framing the context of the conversation you're having with yourself and others, right? And if you frame it in the right way, that your brain understands it, that resonates with your core values, you're going to make a change in your life. If you're in denial for whatever reason, or you're doing it to please other people, it's based on false pretense, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all malleable, right, as individuals, and you can shape and change anything you want in your life. It's just, how bad do you want it? And like, do you want it for the reasons that are understood by you, or do you want it for the reasons that are impressed upon by others, right? It's two very different things.
Yeah, and this is one of the points that we closed the call on, was that you should never apologize for your own growth.
100%, 100%, 100%.
If people along your journey are triggered or upset, you just got to acknowledge that, okay, yeah, you are triggered and you are upset, and recognize that that's something for them to deal with. But you shouldn't keep yourself small to please other people who, for one reason or another, just don't want to start this path for this growth and journey. And neither should your own journey be conditional on what someone else does or doesn't do, because ultimately it's your life at the end of the day, and you you don't want to look back. And again, this was another great conversation with hindsight and foresight. You don't want to get to a stage where you look back and think that was a missed opportunity.
Mm, mm,
But
definitely.
what is it that you can do along the way? Take ownership of, deal with whatever comes up along the way, and just acknowledge it for what it is, and continue your own journey of growth. Because that's where, actually, we talk about energy and frequency. When you grow, you naturally are going to attract people along the way. Maybe not initially, but trust your process.
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, you literally just reminded me about that. I share a couple of quotes I've written down from many of the men who shared it, and one of the guys shared, "There's power in freedom of expression." I love that. So never be afraid, and never apologize to express yourself in the way that authentically serves you. I love that. That was really, really good. And one of the other guys shared that, or I think it was the same person, is that there's no rules. And then I wrote after that, I interpreted that as in uncage your thoughts, right? Because we're always caged with our thoughts. We kind of box them in. We're thinking, we can't do this, we can't do this. Why can't you do that, right? And just to touch on the fact that everyone's heard this saying, hindsight. Hindsight is great. Yes, it is, right? And it always, we have to look back in history to then, in our own lives, to then look forward. And but how often do we transition from hindsight to foresight, right? Because if you can travel back in time virtually, right? We're not in Back to the Future and with a flux capacitor. No one's invented time travel yet, or not that we know of anyway. That's my kind of inner child, just using my imagination there. But hindsight's an amazing thing, because you can travel back in time, yesterday, 20 years ago, saying, if I did this, if I made that choice, then what if? Or if I had the knowledge I have now and I was this age, what would I do? Here's where the penny should drop. What are you going to do with the knowledge you have now in
This is,
your future 20-year self, and
yeah,
the choice you make now, right? Because every moment is a lived experience. So it's quite mind-boggling, but if you literally change your course trajectory now, where would your life be?
Where you add hindsight and foresight together, right? So you go back and say, if only I did this, right? Now, what if you just add to that? Okay, so knowing what I know now about the choices that I've made, how is my future going? This is where foresight comes in. How am I going to predict what's going to happen next?
Yeah, travel forward in time, right? You've traveled back in time, you've reflected, but now travel forward.
Exactly. So you're only here at this particular point in time and space. And this particular point in time and space is the thing that's moving. So in 10 seconds from now, this point is the future based on where conversation.
But we don't think about that because we take so much for granted, don't we, Raj? We take so much for granted.
Exactly. So when you look at it, when you look at the hindsight point of view and say, okay, cool. So in this scenario, if only I did this and blah, blah, blah. But now knowing what you know and being at this point where you're at right now, what does that look like if you were to apply going forward? Because that's where.
And it's that pivotal, is that what you've described, is that pivotal pinpoint moment where you start to experience transformational change, right?
And there's a comment here from Raj as well, turn hindsight into foresight to reveal insight. So consider that exactly that point.
Yeah, love that.
Is really your insight. Now that when you convert that to wisdom becomes your foresight of, okay, knowing what I know and having experienced what I've experienced, what am I now going to do next that's going to alter a 1 degree deviation that creates a new path? And this is where sliding doors moments happen in life, right? You can either get on the train or you cannot get on the train.
Yeah.
Either way. But that's something that's 100% in our control. That's the free will that we always have. What does that life look like now where you've just said, you know what, I'm not going to take this road, I'm going to take this road instead?
Definitely.
And see where that leads, because you know where your hindsight will tell you what your predictable future is going to look like if nothing changes. So you already have that in the bank.
It just reminds us, right? There's so much accessible tool set we have that's within us. It's you can touch and feel it, but it's buried in our subconscious, right? It's just yeah. Who is that? Share that. You, Raj.
From Raj Karai.
Oh, Raj Karai. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Raj. I love that. Coin the phrase. I love that. Definitely. Awesome. I think I can't see the chat, but if there's any questions, definitely let me know, Raj. But I think just a couple of other points that I'll share that you know, so people read back, and I won't share the whole story because there was a bit more detail to it. But one of the guys shared that, and it's a famous saying: "Don't judge a book by its cover." And underneath that cover, you don't realize, right, that everyone has a superpower. So whether you're judging because it's natural, whether someone's begging on the street or someone's angry because you don't know what demons they have in their mind or what they've been through in life, or someone can't afford to pay for a meal, you don't know what's behind that scenes, or someone who's just celebrating life, right? We all judge. So when you say that, I love that as well. It's like everyone, don't judge a book by its cover, like literally until you open that book. It's like when you buy a real book, you have no idea what the contents are, right? You assume you know because of the author or the picture or the way it's been packaged on the surface, but you have no idea until you look at the depths of the pages and you read the contents. It's like the same analogy of having a conversation with someone. Get to know that person deeply, then you understand that person, then you have an appreciation of where they're coming from and why, right? That's where the real beauty starts.
But and this is the thing, it's like, and again, kind of using that cage analogy that we were sharing earlier, is that you judge a book by a cover, you stay in your cage.
You literally do, right?
So,
and the person who's free is the other person. You think you're free, but you're not.
Yeah.
It's quite, I mean, it's deep when you think about it. You literally stay in your cage because what you're doing is you're in that, like you said, you're in your own echo chamber. You believe what you believe is right because you said it was right. So therefore you keep cycling the same thoughts, the same information.
Yeah. And I think, and again, this is sort of thinking broadly, but the place to get to is to have your beliefs constantly questioned, because that will either strengthen them or will allow you to evolve.
Yeah, it's, I mean, yeah, I think we covered it in a deep way 2 weeks ago in terms of what is your truth, right? And then your truth is constantly evolving because your truth is aligned to your core values. Your core values is aligned to your belief system. Your belief system is aligned to your thoughts, and your thoughts are formed from the habits that they create, right? And that can change from your lived experience. It's just the whole sequence of events.
It's yeah, it's just that continual as the loop, right, of just checking in with on that side of things. Yeah, I mean, God, there's so much that we can cover, but we definitely want to stay intentional as well. So let's give everyone a preview as to what's coming up next. So we're going to be announcing our new topics for our new calls very soon. So look out for those as well. Our resource collation is happening very soon. So we're hopefully going to share some exciting news very, very soon as well. And again, everyone listening right now, we'd really welcome your suggestions for topics to cover, anything that you'd like to suggest that we can do as well, because our page isn't really for us. It's driven by the feedback that we get from people as well. So we don't, as we said, we don't own any of this. This is for everyone that's participating as well. So if you're in the chat right now, please do share what you'd like to see more of from us, less of from us, anything that we haven't covered that you'd like for us to look at as well. And we'd really welcome these suggestions as we continue to see how we can evolve and tweak and grow and refine what it is that we're doing too.
Definitely. I think you summed it up perfectly. And just a massive shout out to our sister group as always. So if you're a female, 18 to 35, definitely go check out Reroute, which is a registered charity and under Mind in Harrow, and we're Mindful Men's Club is now also part of Reroute in terms of under the charity umbrella. And if you're above 35 and you're female, check out Mental Wealth as well. So literally, there's something for everyone, right? And thank you, and massive shout out to all the men and women who follow us, like and share our content on our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Please keep sharing. It's not for vanity or followers. It's just to help us with our mission, which is to ensure that another man does not become a victim to suicide, right? That's our kind of big mission really in life. So thank you so much. We'll give you a time back. Thanks to everyone who spent their time and energy and been present in the moment with us. We really do appreciate you. And if you're watching us on the replay, please put #replay and then ask us any questions. And have an amazing weekend. And a massive shout out to all the fathers for Father's Day tomorrow. Have a blessed one, whatever you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mohammed. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Viraj. Bye.
Bye.